Welcome to ESVN, the Emma Sports Vigeland Network show. My name is Emma Vigeland, and you know what to do. October. It's October. It's an amazing sports month. We've got all of the sports, the big four, playing at the same time. So you want to tune in every week. And then during NFL season, we do 2 shows a week. YouTube.com/ESVN show. Put on push notifications. Subscribe. You got to subscribe first. Then put on push notifications, rate us 5 stars, Apple, Spotify, all those wonderful places. And hello to my wonderful friend, Bradley Alsop, who, do you have a fresh haircut? Because I have a fresh haircut.
Yes, but I think the difference is you noticed mine and I did not.
You did not. I mean, it is working in a hospital. Jesus, I've got world events on the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Working in an office with all men means that no one ever notices my haircut. Not that I care, but I got my haircut over the weekend. It's been a very stressful few weeks. It was getting to a point where it was entirely untenable. Like the rule for women is get your hair cut 4 times a year, once a season. And I think I got my hair cut last in early June. So I was really pushing it to get it done in October, like mid to late October. It was starting to get...
You were pushing the seasons.
Oh, I really was. It was becoming an untenable situation, how long and raggedy it was becoming. And it was like a struggle just to get it to look somewhat presentable for maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And I just couldn't get my act together and make an appointment. Especially because I get it colored. So men don't realize this, but it's a 4-hour process. It's a 4-hour coloring and cut process. And my
haircuts take 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't have the time. I just don't feel like it. But on Saturday, tried to take it easy a little bit, got my hair cut, took my time, went to see Killers of the Flower Moon, which was excellent. Nice. So, good
refresh.
Yeah. Went to the gym, relaxed, watched some NFL football, checked in on the baseball a little bit. I mean, I guess that's where we should start before we get into this weekend of NFL games. I mean, the biggest Texas baseball game that isn't the World Series, like in the state of Texas, in decades. I don't know. I mean, this is Game 7, and
because if I'm not, I mean, someone with more of an extensive baseball history knowledge could attest to this. But even when the Astros were in the National League, I don't know if there was ever a more momentous game between Texas baseball teams. This must be the most, critical one ever.
Ever.
Also only basing that off of because the Astros were not very good when they were in the National League for the most part, and the Rangers also have not been this good and this long consistent with when the Astros were in the National League. So I really don't think there would be any possibility for this matchup to mean more than it does
exactly
now.
I mean, and that starts at 8 p.m. Eastern right now, in like in an hour or so. The Phillies. The Phillies Diamondbacks game is gonna start. But before we get into any of that, I forgot to say we will be taking calls today. So the number is 646-257-3920. We'll take them throughout the show. Probably we won't concentrate them at one point. So people just keep it brief, but give us your thoughts, and we will be checking in with you. 646-257-3920. So yes, Phillies Diamondbacks Game 6. Starting at 5, I think. A little bit after 5, and then a little bit after 8 tonight. We're going to have Texas Rangers, Houston Astros, Game 7 in Houston. What makes this series so unique is the fact that there has yet to be a victory for either of the teams at home.
Yeah, it's very odd. Yeah, the Rangers dropped all of their games in Arlington, and in the it was 4-2 going into the 9th inning of the Astros, most recent Astros, the Game 6. And Adolis Garcia of the Rangers just cracked it wide open with a grand slam in the top of the 9th to make it a 9-2 victory for the Rangers in Houston.
It was so much closer than the final score.
Yes, it was really
appears.
like that one frame that led it to be a 7 run deficit as opposed to a 2-run deficit.
Exactly.
But credit to the Rangers bullpen for bouncing back. Jose Leclerc had a was struggled in one of a few of his appearances prior, then came in for the 5-out save and got some great insurance behind him to end the game. So that was exciting for any Rangers fans and for any Astros critics, Astros skeptics like I am. praying for a Rangers victory tonight just so I don't have to see the Astros in the World Series again.
Yes. I mean,
I'm sick of it at this point.
I'm sick of it at this point as well. I think most people who aren't Astros fans are going to be rooting against the Astros. And I mean, so the Christian Javier, that's his name, right? Again, my baseball knowledge is not as robust, but that was the guy. He's going to be pitching tonight. That was the guy that game last year, or the last time the Astros won the World Series. He was the pitcher who was through most of the innings that for the no hitter that the Astros had in that World Series game. So he'll be pitching tonight, and then Max Scherzer is starting tonight for the Rangers. So that is a fascinating matchup of pitching talents there. And I'm hoping that the trend continues and that it's not broken, even though if I were to bet, I would think that the Astros, given their experience and clutchness, are going to pull this off. But
yeah, they've had a lot of experience in clinching games, in do or die games in the playoffs over the last better half of a decade. I literally, just because I was doing some reading earlier. I was watching the fateful 2019 game. I think it was either 2019 or 2018 season when in the ALCS Jose Altuve hit a walk-off home run against the Yankees in Game 6 to take them to the World Series. So they have been in these situations before and have executed. So and the Rangers are certainly untested in that regard. So we'll see how they do in this really pressurized environment. Fun fact, just before we briefly touch on Phillies Diamondbacks, last season Christian Javier was the starting pitcher for 2 combined no-hitters.
Oh,
one in the regular season, or one earlier in the season, and then the Game 4 of the World Series of last year.
that is a fact that is fun.
Yeah, interesting. He's got good timing, Christian Javier.
Oh yeah,
good timing and syncing up with his bullpen.
Certainly, I mean,
blank the opposing hitters.
Or he just has that contagious thing where he gets the whole team on a roll, and he's hoping he can replicate that tonight. Yeah, we'll be following, because our show will extend into the time the ball game kicks off against the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. But it feels like the Phillies' victory is inevitable. But I don't want
the Diamondbacks have put up a valiant fight after going down 2-0.
Totally.
But I just think there is a significant talent and experience deficit in the sense that Nick Castellanos has looked great. Bryce Harper has looked great. Kyle Schwarber has looked great. I mean, Schwarber literally, I think, now holds the record for home runs in the NLCS,
Wow.
Between the Cubs and the Phillies, in his tenure with both teams. So, I would bet on. I mean, I would probably predict a rematch. Unfortunately, just given the experience of both teams in terms of clinchers and stuff like that, and recent playoff success. But we'll see. I'm always excited for.
I would love 2
underdogs
Game 7s.
Yes,
I mean,
certainly. That would be better too.
Would be
More
fun for the
games.
Diamondbacks to win tonight, so that we could experience, or today, I should say.
I'm always team more games.
Yeah.
More baseball. More anything, actually.
Unless our teams are involved. So sorry if any Phillies fans are listening and we are wishing something unfortunate upon you and stressful. We'll get into the NFL in just a second, but let's take a call really quickly. Calling from a 937 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Drew from Ohio.
Drew from Ohio. What's on your mind?
So I actually want to talk about the NFL. I called in before the season started, and you guys were pretty low on Deshaun Watson. I'm a Browns fan.
Yeah.
And I had made the claim that Myles and Nick Chubb were going to be able to carry us. I'm calling to brag now while I'm still vindicated, because Myles has done it so far. But I think by the end of the season, you guys are going to end up being right, because this quarterback situation is totally untenable. Like, we can't keep winning like this.
Yeah.
So it sucks to see such a good team is probably going to end up wasted, and I'd rather they go get Jacoby Brissett back at this point.
Well, Drew, let's answer your question, because that's and we'll hang up on you and we'll answer off air, because that leads us perfectly into our segment about how Myles Garrett performed.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. R.I.P. to Nick Chubb. I miss you.
I know. He'll be all right, though. It wasn't as bad as we thought. Thanks so much for the call, Drew. Yeah,
I feel similarly
thank you.
as having him in one of my fantasy teams. Not good.
Well, no one cares about your fantasy team. That is the old adage. So I'm
I care about it.
Well, okay. Besides you, yes, that's true.
That's one person.
That is one person. That is accurate.
Unless you're dehumanizing me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for doing so. But that is a perfect way to talk about this Myles Garrett performance. I mean, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 field goal blocked, and the block was like a almost a dance move. I mean, the way that he jumped over that line in order to block the field goal. I had to check that was legal, but it is. It did not. It's not. It is not an illegal play. And what's crazy is that the Colts offense played really well. And
I mean, I could not believe how dynamic. I mean, when I saw Gardner Minshew scramble for that touchdown, I was like, "What?"
2. I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. Look up that stat line.
I saw. I think the first one where he had the little shimmy celebration at the end, but I was like, "What is going on here?" I was saying this to you prior to the. I was saying this to you prior to the show starting, that like I can't properly get any reads on any team so far this season, which is I think reflecting in my picks this season, that I'm just struggling to like get my finger on the pulse of like which teams are consistently good or consistently bad or going to have up or down weeks. I was not expecting the Colts without Anthony Richardson. I mean, Jonathan Taylor was back and he did look pretty good, getting into the end zone finally, which was nice to see. Was not expecting this Colts offense to hang 38 points on the number 1 defense in the league. Certainly not.
Absolutely not. And Drew is right that I probably underestimated the ability for some of these other players to carry this team. Obviously, Nick Chubb is out for the year, but he was very good in the limited time that we saw him to start the year and was carrying the team. And Deshaun Watson, before he hurt his shoulder, was not playing well in those games that Nick Chubb was in. He started to get his groove, and then he hurt his shoulder, and the rest is kind of history right now. And I have no idea what's going on with that. Before his head hit the turf and he was out of the game, Deshaun Watson did not look good in that offense, and there seems to be some issue with his shoulder. His body language on the sidelines, you could just see how this is all of his own making, so no sympathy for me here, but the whole situation has changed him. The pressure around him has changed him. He looks like a bitter, angry person, like basically all of the time, versus when he was in Houston. I mean, I remember those plays of him screaming at the top of the dome in joy as he bombed a touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins. He was a electric, exciting player, and now there's just this odd stuff going on with his shoulder. Look, the Browns won, and it's a testament to that team that they didn't have an emotional letdown after beating the undefeated at the time 49ers and then going to the Colts stadium, going to Indianapolis, where that's a total opportunity to just have a low energy game and fall flat on your face, because you already expended it all the previous week, and they didn't let that happen. They did get a bit of a fortunate call. If you saw that illegal contact penalty on that corner Baker for Indianapolis, that there were a lot of penalties that kind of scrambled that game up, and they seemed to go more in the Browns' favor than in the Colts' favor. But either way, weird. This is why this sport is one of the weirdest sports and one of the most fun sports, I think, to follow, is that when you heard Colts-Browns, the strength of the Browns is their defense. They probably have the best defense in the NFL this year. And the Colts have a stout defense. They have DeForest Buckner. They have
Grover Stewart.
Yeah, they have some smart.
Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore?
Yeah, right. I think.
I get Kenny Moore and Kenny Clark confused all the time.
No. That you were right about Kenny Moore. Kenny Moore. Yeah. I thought you were right the first time, but then I start to doubt myself.
No, more. Yeah, they have a few good players, and I feel like they've been playing up a little bit relative to last year. And honestly, I mean, even with Richardson out, the offensive line has definitely looked significantly better. It was a real, I would say, a true liability for them last year with Matt Ryan at quarterback. Quentin Nelson has, I think, come kind of rounded back into form as one of the better guards in the league. And even with this run, even with Gardner Minshew behind center, and for the majority of the season so far, I mean, Taylor's back now, but Zach Moss was having a lot of success on the ground. I mean, it's interesting that they were able to even not only keep it close, only lose by 1, but also put up almost 40 points up on a defense that, I mean, if it was just Myles Garrett, it'd be difficult to anticipate a whole lot of success from Gardner Minshew in this offense. But this is a really, incredible unit.
Well, Denzel Ward had an interception. I mean, they were making plays, but they were
blocked
letting
field
up
goal.
a lot of yards.
It's interesting that usually you don't expect to see a blocked field goal and an interception, those types of turnovers, and it'd be that close. Usually those turnovers do pay more dividends than.
Yes, and let's be clear that P.J. Walker screwed them up in a variety of different situations. So back to what Drew was saying on the phone, Deshaun Watson hasn't looked great. And we don't know what's going on with his shoulder. He seems to be in some sort of cold war with Stefanski, who publicly said something about how he was medically cleared but didn't play. But the shoulder is clearly still an issue, and he's not happy, and he's making that clear.
He looks broken to me, both physically and emotionally.
Yes, and that
he just does not look like the same quarterback in any. Sometimes I think with certain guys, even if they're not themselves, and I think about Russell Wilson as an example,
or Burrow to start the year.
And I guess I say Russ only because I'm
But the media scrutiny has also, for different reasons, also, that are not 2 dozen sexual
yes,
assault
of course, different scrutiny, different career arcs in a way, and obviously Russ is older, but I think sometimes you can still, even with Russ in Denver, see the remnants or the traces of what Russ the athlete was like in Seattle. It's not easy to see that with Deshaun Watson. I don't see that many glimpses of 2019 Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. And you know what's weird too is that Stefanski's always been a run first kind of offensive coordinator.
Definitely.
So the trade and extension, and the insane guaranteed money that they gave him, first of all, it makes no sense on so many different levels. Again, the Browns won, so I don't know why we're being so negative, but it's just what the caller was saying is they're wasting this team, I think, and it will be wasted given the way that the quarterback room is looking. But, I mean, they dumped Baker Mayfield because they wanted the, quote, adult in the room, so they traded for a guy that had multiple accusations of sexual misconduct against him and was in active lawsuits and litigation at the time. Stefanski's already their head coach during this period, known to be a run-first coordinator with fairly simple pass concepts. They trade for him, give up 3 first-round picks plus other things, extend him and give him the best contract any quarterback has ever gotten, given the amount of guaranteed money, an unprecedented contract that pissed off every single owner in the NFL for how absurd it was. So rewarding him for the situation he was in.
And backloading the guaranteed money
yes.
to sort of make it seem don't worry, we're only paying him $1,
right?
Because we'll give him let it be known we'll pay him $99 million, but for a few years after the lawsuits and all the dust settles. Okay, he's not making a lot now while he's being a bad guy. All right.
So, but
get off our backs.
It showed that the ownership or Barry, their general manager,
Andrew Barry,
but I mean, Barry's going to do what Haslam tells him. They seem to have no idea of how they wanted to construct the team. It's in contrast with how Stefanski likes to operate. Why would you pay all this money for gunslinging Deshaun Watson, putting aside all of the other massive issues which color this? Why would you put your resources with that guy if that's the way your team is? They're now a top defensive unit and a run team, but they're paying their quarterback he's the one carrying the squad. It's obvious. Proof is in the pudding that that's not Deshaun Watson's role. So it really is just kind of it's absolutely a disaster waiting to happen. It's a miracle that the Browns are this good on and have had such success so far, given all of the circumstances surrounding the team. It shows they're talented. But I don't know how long they can do this tightrope dance. I really don't.
And I just think that when you also have to think, I think, and of course we are as watchers of the league and we make discernments about contract and contract value, and sometimes I think it's a little hard to fully square like the intrinsic and extrinsic value of like a contract to a player just from like the amount of on the balance sheet relative to the impact on the field.
Yeah.
But I think there are certain times where it's extremely clear the disparity and what would be needed to bridge the gap in that disparity. And like for what Deshaun Watson is guaranteed to be paid over the course of the lifespan of this contract, he'd basically probably need to play like a top 3 quarterback for it to make any sense whatsoever financially, for it to be worth the expenses, for it to be worth the reputational and financial investment into this guy. And he's played, I think, 1 good game against the Titans over 2 seasons.
And then he got injured, yeah.
So I think that's the other existential conflict here for the Browns, is that their defense can be elite, and it is, but like if he is not playing literally like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen level football, it's a colossal waste of time and money.
And when you fully guarantee that contract, the guy's character is in question. Let's be real. And I'm as pro players, I want more guaranteed contracts. But just thinking about the incentive for this guy to even get back on the field. If there is an issue with the coaching staff, I mean, what's the rush for him? I mean, he could sit out. He could do what he wants. He has all of the power. And that's not the right guy that you want to have all of the power, in my humble opinion. Based on now what we know of him, even though I thought in the past he was such a stand-up guy, and now, yeah.
I feel a lot of whiplash.
Absolutely.
This man.
I've said this before, but years before I used to say my 3 favorite quarterbacks to watch in the NFL were Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, and Lamar Jackson. I'm kind of over 2 of those guys for personal life reasons. Lamar, still on that train, baby.
And is in my opinion, I think almost like playing better than the years where we were really, addicted to watching him, or at least
this game. I mean, the MVP year is one of the greatest seasons I will ever watch of any player. I mean, it reminds me of it's
hard to beat that explosiveness, that speed.
The year Odell Beckham won Rookie of the Year, and he didn't even play those early games, and he came in and he lit the league on fire, and he had that catch. As a Giants fan, you can't really beat that season for me. But Lamar Jackson versus the Lions, holy crap. 21-27, 393 total yards, 357 of those yards were passing, 4 total touchdowns. One of them was a rushing touchdown, 0 interceptions, a 155.8 passer rating. Man, did that guy look comfortable in that offense. I think that the Ravens finally got their groove back. They looked good in London against Tennessee. But they had red zone issues. Like they were marching down the field in London, and then they'd get to the red zone. They'd have to kick a Justin Tucker field goal. But Lamar just diced this Ravens defense up, which has been stout this year. I mean, I think
Lions defense.
Oh, sorry. What did I say? Lions?
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. This Lions defense, which has been stout this year. It's interesting. The Lions are incredibly talented, but they have an aggressive head coach, and that means aggressive play calling on both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. And sometimes I feel like when their aggression gets away from them, they leave vulnerabilities. And when the Ravens can match them with talent, and you have an excellent head coach in Harbaugh who knows how to exploit certain weaknesses, it can just snowball. And as well as Jared Goff has played this year, he's not the guy that can lead a team from that big of a deficit down, because on the offensive side of the ball, the Lions do want to control the game through their incredible run game and their great offensive line. And Lamar just made that impossible for them. So garbage time touchdown for Jahmyr Gibbs, but this is functionally a shutout, and that is in large part due to the fact that Lamar just came out of the gates in this game swinging and showing everybody that he can dice you up in the pocket. this is the kind of quarterback that Lamar Jackson is. He has such an underrated arm. It pisses me off when people don't talk about it. It's a flick of the wrist. He has, for all the talk about Tua's quick release, Lamar Jackson's release is quick, lightning quick. And he throws it on a rope. He really is one of my favorite players I've ever watched play football.
And before I get to the other, I think not unheralded, just more like I think we sometimes almost seeing this Ravens offense kind of optimize itself, especially after the years of Greg Roman, where things were, I think, incredibly simplistic.
Yep.
And which Lamar is good enough of a player to continue even with that simplistic play calling to like make something out of it. But to combine his talent and his skills with better receiving personnel than he's really ever had, in the form of even in the sense of a rookie in Zay Flowers who is a burner, who can threaten with speed but has the route running chops to confuse guys.
Well, when he cuts and he goes off like that, he can just make a guy miss.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And then still with even the complementary pieces of having someone who is having a wily yet still creative and not, of course not as athletic at his age, but to have Odell Beckham in any capacity healthy to assist.
He's looking better and better.
Is on I know, right, on like the triple option or sort of that kind of end around play that they had.
And they're throwing slants to him, which is his bread and butter.
Absolutely. And to still have the reliable safety blanket that is Mark Andrews, to have Nelson Aguilar that doesn't have to be your number one option, who is like your number 4 option, and they do have a significant connection. Like, seeing Todd Monken's creativity and ingenuity placed onto a guy with the skill set of Lamar Jackson, it just feels like the coronation. I don't even mean in like a royalty setting. I more mean like I just genuinely mean like it feels like the culmination of something that we've been waiting to happen in Baltimore for Lamar.
They put it together,
and
Monken's not that creative. Like, he's decent,
and I would say
it's just a step up from everything that we've seen from that offense.
I think it's almost. I think maybe the creativity almost jumps off the page to me the most relative to what we were seeing under Greg Roman.
Yes.
That like it's such a significant departure from what we were seeing Lamar being tasked with prior, that it just feels such an awakening for what Lamar is absolutely capable of doing, which is also, by the way, to your point about his arm strength, which is one of his cardinal strengths that many people when he was coming out of college were very unwilling to ascribe to him, but also his pocket presence, which I think is another one of his strengths is potentially as important to his success as his rushing ability.
He's an accurate passer, and yeah, not to wax too poetically about him, but I just think, you know, the Ravens' offensive line is also a group that every year somehow it seems like they're able to be consistent with it.
And also look to the benefits, the positive takeaways from games where Ronnie Stanley plays back to back. That Lamar has his blue chip left tackle, who's one of those guys that like almost maybe not as inconsistent as Teron Armstead, but similar in that vein of like when that guy is healthy, he is one of the best players at his position. And Lamar is absolutely benefiting from and having enough time and space to do Lamar things, to stay in the pocket for like 5 to 10 seconds to let a play unfold. So whether he can either shoot into a gap if it's there or have enough time for guys to get open. Like he wasn't having that prior.
When he runs, it's different now. He doesn't have to carry the offense on his back by running in 10 and 15-yard chunks or whatever. It's allowing him to be opportunistic as a scrambler as opposed to a straight runner, which Roman was so simplistic. It fell way too much on Lamar to do that kind of stuff. I just was looking this up, but Zay Flowers, I saw Zay posted it on Instagram earlier, and I wanted to read it because I just remembered that he is only the second wide receiver since 1970 have at least 50 scrimmage yards in each of his first 7 career games.
Yeah, he's productive. He looks the
Good
part.
job, by the way, Chargers. I said it at the time.
No,
what is wrong with you guys?
Don't get me started.
Freaking Quentin Johnson. He's fine.
I'm gonna have a bad reaction if we get into this.
We will later get into it.
I'm gonna fly. I'm warning everyone. I'm flying off the handle when we start talking about the Chargers.
Whoa!
But the reason I wanted to get all of that out of the way about the offense, because like I was excited for the Monken era to begin with in the offseason. I was excited for who they obtained. I was excited for how everything was going to look, and I'm so pleased that it's this early in the season that we're seeing some culmination of it. But I would be remiss, I think, also not to acknowledge how impressed I am by the defense and by Mike Macdonald's reign as defensive coordinator.
Right.
In that Macdonald is a 36-year-old guy. He is in the season that he's been with Baltimore, he has always, I think, been able to coach these guys up to be better than the sum of their parts. And I think we're really, really seeing that with like the anchoring of like stellar linebacker play from Roquan Smith. That trade has absolutely paid dividends in the sense that he is truly the leader of that defense. And the way that, as a result, him being sort of in the middle or kind of being a focal point of the spine of that defense, they are so much better at passing things off and sniffing out inventive offensive concepts that the Lions obviously, stake a lot of their passing and rushing attack off of outside of the red zone. We know David Montgomery was healthy. To also see it in the way that they do have some injuries, and yet still guys have stepped up. I mean, in Marcus Williams' absence, Geno Stone has been playing fantastic football for them. Kyle Hamilton is looking better in the role and in both applying his versatility, but also finding a little bit of a more solid footing in that defense. Guys on their front seven like Justin Madubuike are coming into their own 2 or 3 years into the league, and they are getting the most out of their expendable, out of their latter period Sylvester Stallone, Dolph Lundgren guy, Jadeveon Clowney, playing great football in the situational role that he's been given on his like 5th or 6th team. Like, it's unbelievable to see how each player that I've highlighted and a bunch of others on this defense are kind of come from different paths and different veins and different career arcs and things like that to make up this really, really good, really, really suffocating unit.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm so pleased by the offense, but I think it's really encouraging for the team that wants to make a deep run in a very packed AFC that they're not just relying on one unit.
And a packed AFC North.
Specifically in their own division, let alone the entire conference.
I mean, you can't rule out any of those 4 teams from making it to the playoffs. And the Steelers took care of business in LA yesterday. So, but I root for the Ravens. I've been open about it. I've called them my AFC mistress for a reason, but they are just that's my kind of football.
I was so taken in such a bandwagoner in 2013 that because the Jets sucked, I rooted for the Ravens like literally from the beginning.
Oh my God,
of the season.
That was 2013.
Yeah,
I remember I watched it in a dorm and no one cared except me.
I watched the game against the Patriots, the game against the Broncos, the game against obviously the Super Bowl. I literally have an Ed Reed jersey. I was obsessed.
And that was the year also. It was the Hard Bowl and
exactly.
The power went out.
Yep.
That was a really fun season. And Flacco got paid after that. I remember.
Sure did.
Bet on himself and
went to Wendy's.
Flacco got paid. Yeah. So anyway, good job, Ravens.
I love to see it. Absolutely love to see it.
Lamar's definitely, I would say, the number one player of the week so far. Although quietly, Patrick Mahomes throws for like 400 yards and no one cares. We will get to that game in a little bit. We mentioned the Eagles earlier, but we've got to talk about the Eagles here because if I hear the words tush push and brotherly shove again, it'll be too soon. But if I hear it 50 years from now, those words, it will be too soon. As a Giants fan, I literally don't want to hear those words ever again. Unfortunately for me, that is not tenable because this is a phenomenon, this play. I looked it up before the show. The Eagles are 4 for 4 on the play in the game, the tush push. They're now 41 of 44 with that play across the last 2 seasons, ESPN stats confirm. Their ability to dominate every one of their opponents, basically, except the Jets, congratulations, Bradley, with that offensive line, it's historic. Like, and then, of course, it helps that Jalen Hurts is so strong in his lower body that he can just, push himself through on those 4th and 1s. But they never have to worry. They don't have the same constraints, the Eagles, on offense that every single other team does, which is it's 3 downs unless, you're in a situation where you're in no man's land, or if you have to play catch up, you'll go for it on 4th down. They have 4 plays and everybody else has 3. And that makes that offense so dominant. They just kept grinding away at the Dolphins. And, the Dolphins, for all their speed, this is my other observation too. The Dolphins are a speed team, but they have some size. The Eagles are a size team, but they have some speed. The size on the line of scrimmage is what wins. This is still, in that sense, old school football. And if you're a Dolphins fan, that's the concern you have to have, is when it comes playoff time, and this is a trenches game, and it always ends up being that once the playoffs start, can the Dolphins keep up? They are so fast that they may be able to, but the Eagles are the ultimate construction of what a football team should be in the way that their defensive line and offensive line are structured. And I know we sound like broken records because we talk about it all the time, but that's the key to their success. And it's the most sustainable way to build a football team, because those offensive linemen, I know that, Kelsey will retire eventually, and Landon Dickerson is new.
Lane Johnson.
Lane Johnson will retire eventually, I understand. But for now, the fact that those guys are still even playing, it just goes to show that this is the smartest way to build your football team, and Howie Roseman has perfected it.
Well, the other thing, as you said, it's basically gotten to a point in terms of the success rate of that particular play that you essentially strategically have to limit the Eagles' offense to less than 8 yards.
Yep.
To avoid the eventuality of them dishing out their play that they have almost whittled down to a science.
On 3 downs, and I will just also add, their offensive line is so dominant that they don't get a lot of holding penalties either. So
there's no negative yards usually also from holding or false starts or whatever. They're not beyond being extremely effective at what they do. They're very disciplined, which is huge as well. And it's a testament. I mean, there's a reason why Jeff Stoutland is aside from a few other offensive line coaches, truly the best, one of if not the best to ever do it. With how much talent and how much growth he's emitted from so many players. I am I don't love this discourse at all. I'm exhausted by it already. I think it's kind of dumb that people say that this play should be banned, because I've seen this play attempted by other teams and it's not the same. So I don't believe I would think it should be banned if it was a cheat code for anybody. But I saw the Colts do it with Anthony Richardson. They failed.
The Giants have tried it. It failed. Yeah.
I think this is specific to. I don't believe that this is just something I'm the Bears with Tyson Bagent, my D2 second string quarterback. We're gonna do the tush push and get easy yards on 4th and 1. They're not going to.
Because they can't.
Because their offensive line is not as nearly as good, and their quarterback is not nearly as strong or athletic. It is a testament that is individual to this Eagles team that they can do this so effectively.
I agree with you.
It's a skills based thing. It is not luck based. It is not a. There's no cheating involved.
No. In
my opinion, if you want to stop it, stop it.
Yeah.
It's possible. I've seen it happen.
And honestly, why you're right too is that this dominant of an offensive line is so rare in the NFL right now.
100%.
People have talked about. I understand all the rules are rigged in favor of the offense, and that pisses me off. But allowing the tush push, I hate that frickin' phrase. It's just because I hate the Eagles. Sorry. But I can analyze them objectively and say they're really an amazing team and will be for a long time. But part of it too is just there is such a deficit of offensive linemen in the NFL. People have remarked on this before on different shows that just defensive lines are, there's more good defensive linemen right now to go around than there are good offensive linemen. I mean, there are a lot of offensive lines that are struggling right now in the league, and there are big people that play defense that are able to be more disruptive. So this one instance where the offensive line is entirely dominant against almost every opponent that they play, we're going to penalize them for that? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. It's just because the Eagles are that talented. They should not be, that rule should not be taken away.
Yeah, it's just that I don't. I initially, there was a part of me at first where I was like, oh, I haven't really seen any other teams do it. But once I saw other teams do it, I was like, oh, okay, right. It's not the same. But the other thing I will say with the Eagles, especially with this game that was super impressive, which is again another testament to my inability to like get a read on any team, is that after they could not score, had 4 turnovers against the Jets and lost, they held the Dolphins to like 10 offensive points and looked absolutely explosive through the air, because they're, aside from the running game just being the running game, like we know what it is. We know that Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, DeAndre Swift will be able to just find lanes, and that's just inevitable at this point. Jalen Hurts looked very slippery. He was evading contact. He looked great in that regard. And
he did get banged up on his knee.
Yes, I did notice that he was kind of
something to monitor,
favoring one leg. But I will say, I mean, it is not easy. It is, as I've said, I've made this comparison before, but it's similar to the formula of the Bengals in a way with the Eagles, that if one-on-one matchups are happening where A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert are capitalizing on those one-on-one matchups and just winning them because they are better athletes, better players, and more consistent in their route running ability, in their catching ability, because they all have excellent hands, those guys. And it is very, very difficult to stop when A.J. Brown is just plucking balls out of the sky and mossing defenders.
Oh, yeah.
When Devontae Smith is making like one-of-one catches that like other guys just would not make.
Oh, yeah.
When Dallas Goedert is
Devontae Smith had a very quiet night last night, but it doesn't even matter.
But even so, he didn't get into the end zone, but he had a few catches where I was like, no one else is catching that ball besides him.
Yeah.
And where Dallas Goedert was just truly just carving things up in these short intermediate areas of the field. It is just if that is operating, combined with the run game, it is extremely, extremely hard to stop. And, if Hassan Reddick just decides to have like 7 quarterback hits and 9 hurries,
well, that's the thing.
Then on the other end, it doesn't even matter if one guy is out or, whatever the case may be. That line is ferocious.
Hassan Reddick was clearly the guy that was, I pointed it out, and then the announcers pointed it out. The guy that was monitoring Raheem Mostert and making sure that he was not breaking off runs in the back, or getting out of the backfield like that. And Hassan Reddick, I think, tackled Mostert for a loss a few times.
They could not get a single. They basically had, I think, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of the half, they had negative yardage.
And that's the thing, is like they clearly made an effort to say, so much of what the Dolphins are going to try to do is off the run and getting these guys open and trying to chew up clock and maybe play us at their own game. We're not going to let them do that. And they did not let the Dolphins get their incredible run game going the entire night. And that was a really smart game plan by them.
They wanted their powerhouse guys, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Obviously, Waddle was hurt kind of in and out of the game, as well as their run game, to confuse the weakest part of their defense, which is the kind of the spine, the linebackers and the safeties. What the game plan was, which was the right one, was we are not going to give you time to do that. Like, we are going to sniff out your plays, sniff out your kind of eye candy stuff you in the backfield, and not give Tua nearly enough time to make plays, even though he is a very fast processor and usually gets the ball out. It still wasn't quick enough.
Yeah, and this is to reiterate what we're saying. It's some of the weaknesses that we're seeing with the Dolphins is they have incredible speed and talent, but is Tua going to be the guy that, outside of his processing, when you're down and you need your quarterback to do things off script and off schedule and make plays, is he going to be able to do that? I have my doubts about that. I've been open about that. He's played very well this year, and he looks confident, and who wouldn't be when you're throwing a Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? But there are some issues, I would say, that might crop up for that reason.
But also I will say, as a corollary to that, it is not with the type of game plan that the Dolphins want to employ, combined with the defensive line that they were playing. It was absolutely back. It's one thing enough to not have Teron Armstead playing in your and
Isaiah Wynn.
It's another thing
yeah.
for Isaiah Wynn to also get injured, and you're starting along with a shuffled over offensive line, Liam Eichenberg playing center when he's usually a guard, Lester Cotton at left tackle, and Kendall Lamb at right guard. Like, you are going to get smoked.
But their offensive line has issues even with
absolutely
sometimes with
with Armstead and Wynn both.
Yeah, and that's just something to monitor for the playoffs.
I think that's also a good point, which is that the offensive line is already not, I would say, a completely plus unit to begin with. When you have to go to your reserves already in that capacity, it's already. A weakness becomes a much more glaring weakness.
Absolutely.
When you have to go into your depth.
Yeah, well said. But yeah, it's despite the score then ended up it ended up being 2 touchdowns that the Eagles won by. It was closer than that, and so that was one of the better Sunday Night Football games. A lot of them have been blowouts. It's and I haven't enjoyed that much. But next week we get Chargers Bears. Whoop-de F&D. I'm gonna throw up everywhere. That's such a horrible matchup. Anyway, by the way, Tyson Bagent, good performance by Tyson Bagent. Makes you ask some questions about Justin Fields, but we can put that aside for right now. We will get into the that game in just a second.
If I'm the Bears, I don't play him because I want to keep losing.
Whoop. Interesting. But they do have another first-round pick, and that team can't seem to buy a win, so there's that. And that's the Carolina Panthers. Calling from a 267 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Bob. I'm calling from the Philly suburbs, and they're going crazy for the Phillies and the Eagles around here.
Oh, yeah.
I, however, am a transplanted Jets fan. I grew up in Shea Stadium in the upper deck watching Joe Namath throw to George Sauer and Don Maynard. Okay, so I'm very proud that they spoiled the party for the Eagles. They're the only ones to put a dent in them.
Very nice.
What I wanted to ask you, since you are so knowledgeable in sports, I wanted to hear your analysis of this past weekend's tournament in Niagara Falls, the Grand Slam of curling.
Well, good sir, my knowledge certainly ends at that point. But why don't you give me your analysis, and then we can keep our audience up to speed.
No, you're the expert. I was hoping you could fill me in.
Oh, well, you're going to have
with you.
I'm going to need to do this maybe full time before I'm able to give my curling analysis. But
well, in a closing note, Emma, you look ravishing, and your hair looks very unshaggy.
Thank you very much. Well, much appreciated. Have a good one.
You take care.
Bye. Short and sweet. We love it. And we love a compliment. That's very nice as well. We just mentioned that we would talk a bit about the that Bears game. So let's get into it briefly. Tyson Bagent, wow. He stepped up. And it provides some questions, I would say, about Justin Fields' future there. I think the Bears should want to continue to lose the rest of the year, both to get rid of Eberflus and to set themselves up for the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. Although, again, the Carolina Panthers being so horrible gives them a big cushion in that regard. The bigger story, I think, for me at least, is I don't understand how Raiders fans aren't just taking to the streets right now. And the record on their record is at 3-4. The Raiders is better than this team is. So it sounds a little bit like maybe I'm being like I'm overreacting. But this answer here, if we could pull this clip up from Josh McDaniels, this guy, I don't understand how you can have such open disrespect for your players and not lose the locker room. There are a lot of coaches from the Belichick tree that are hard asses, and they're like basically hazing them behind the scenes, embarrassing about them about bad plays in front of other teammates in order to coach them up or try to coach them hard. That stuff, I don't even know if I agree with it, honestly, but it's at least not embarrassing your players in public. You keep it in-house. And I have more respect for that. Josh McDaniels here he's now thrown Aiden O'Connell under the bus a few times at this point. This is the second time he's done it. And Aiden O'Connell didn't even get the start. It was Brian Hoyer, who is 54 years old. And the team did not look good. It did not look good. And Aiden O'Connell, or I should say Josh McDaniels, was asked about his decision to start Brian Hoyer after the game, and obviously the Raiders lost, and this is what he had to say about his rookie quarterback.
Yeah, but this isn't the preseason anymore. You know what I mean? We had an entire week of practice in LA, or most of the week. We had an opportunity to practice them, and there were some good things. And there was some other things that, we needed to work on and fix and obviously get better and improve. So, that's such is life in that regard. When your starter is not available, you're trying to make what you think is the best decision for the team. Again, I don't put this all on one person now. Let's make sure we make that clear. There's a lot of people that can do a better job of what we did today. And that's what we're going to need to do.
He's like, why would I play a guy that we drafted when I could play a 46-year-old guy who sucks?
That's him saying that he's not ready for prime time. And why would you say that about your player? Why would you say that about your player? I don't like that at all. You have to understand that you're making a headline when you make that point. And if that was his only remark, that would be a different story. But he has this major issue with players not liking him. Devontae Adams has been open about his feelings about the direction of the team. The way Derek Carr was kicked to the curb unceremoniously last year, I think raises some eyebrows. Not that I'm a Derek Carr fan. There's no quarterback who's that mid who yells at his receivers more. But and then thinks he's super righteous and loves himself very much at the podium. But that's a whole nother story. He's had these issues before. It seems like he has not learned from them. And when you lose a game, as the head coach, your one job is to just be like, it's on me. It's on me. I could have made some different decisions. It's not on one player. Why I didn't start Aiden is just that I felt like Brian gave us the best chance to win in this game, and it wasn't the case. Or we failed Brian in a lot of ways from a coaching perspective, and that's that. You don't say it's not preseason anymore. We couldn't put that rookie out there. That's just not the way that you conduct business. And there have been player surveys about what it's like to play under this guy. Anonymously, many players have said quite negative things about the culture that Josh McDaniels creates. And the reality is that if you want to act like Bill Belichick, first of all, I don't think Bill is this. Bill doesn't say anything to the media, partly because of this. Not saying he's the best guy ever. I don't think so. But he doesn't want to create a headline about one of his players. That's part of why he's such a gruff with the media. Josh McDaniels seems to have no problem deflecting blame. And I think that's chicken shit.
I can't stand to look at this guy. I mean, look at this guy. I hate his face.
I know.
Well, he looks like a little pig.
I mean, oink oink. Yeah. Well, is that your contribution? That's nice.
Yeah, that's
Good.
it. That's
hope the podcast listeners enjoy that.
That's all I have to say about Josh McDaniels.
All right. Well,
nasty.
He's not going to get fired because Mark Davis can't afford it. So that's the thing.
What bothers me. It's almost as if what's kind of funny is that he's not that old of a guy. I think he's in his early 50s maybe. But he has almost baseball manager level of old school tactics that are just so odious to me, and being like, You wouldn't put the rookie into that situation. You obviously have to put in the 45-year-old backup who sucks shit because that's the way football works.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so in my view as a football fan, that's playing to lose.
Oh yeah.
You're literally just saying because Jimmy G is out, we're gonna lose this game.
And let's be
And I'm
real.
not even saying Aiden O'Connell's like
Oh my
that
God, he's
good.
38. I was joking about Brian Hoyer. I thought he might be 35. He's 38.
He's extreme. No, to be honest with you, I'm surprised he's not 40. I thought he was 40 years old. He's been playing in the league, I think, since 2007, if I'm not mistaken, or 2008.
It's unbelievable.
Like, to me, if you were like, okay, and I'm not even saying this to say that Aiden O'Connell is anything. I'm just saying if you're in this position and you'd rather put in a 38-year-old career backup than see if you have anything with the guy you literally spent a draft pick on who is a rookie, I just think you don't really care about the team.
Yeah,
or you don't really care about the prospects for the
playing
team.
scared.
Or experimenting with anything.
Or the only thing you care about are like things like mental processing of your offense and a smart player who does his job and does the military mindset and understands what the team wants to do in that way. And that, like, are you losing sight that this is a sport of athleticism? That we're talking about athletes here and not guys that can trade best on like the Wall Street floor or at Goldman Sachs? I mean, like, let's be real here, bro. And the other thing that annoys me too is if you don't believe in Aiden O'Connell, that's fine. But you had a backup last year in Jarrett Stidham, who in 2 games that he started performed very well. And apparently the rumors behind the scenes were that they were a little unhappy that the Jarrett Stidham's team that McDaniels did not bring him back. And we're surprised by that. And Sean Payton picked him up and signed him as the backup to Russell Wilson. Who knows how long Wilson will be. Like, I'm not saying Jarrett Stidham is the next coming of Tom Brady, but he looked pretty good in that time period. So
was that preseason to like play Stidham? Yeah, like,
Jimmy G doesn't stay healthy. Jimmy G doesn't stay healthy.
Factually. Like,
how do you not? Has he stayed healthy one season? I don't think so.
I don't even think I feel like with the Patriots also he got injured, right? I think it was not.
Yes.
It's literally throughout, like across teams.
He is the most well-documented injury-prone starter in the NFL.
Right,
Let's be real here. So you're not going to prioritize getting a backup quarterback that isn't 57-year-old Brian Hoyer and
we're just going to keep going up.
Or a rookie. And if you don't believe, I want to get that isn't 72-year-old Brian Hoyer or
he's 100 years old.
6-year-old Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
Okay?
We could be starting a literal baby at quarterback and we're not doing it.
We're not. They're starting 88-year-old Brian Hoyer.
Benjamin Button could be starting at quarterback and we're not allowing it.
We're not. I mean, the process is so suspect, and I would be very upset if I were a Raiders fan about the direction of this team.
But this also goes to show, I think, sort of what we've been talking about with the team prior, in the sense of what we were talking about, like with some like the offseason acquisitions, the cutting of Derek Carr to get Jimmy G, like the sort of anemic defensive acquisitions also for a team that kind of has needed a lot, in my opinion, on defense. That it just seems like this team is aimless. Like it is rudderless in a way. It doesn't seem.
Are you rebuilding or are you?
It doesn't. It simultaneously doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and it also while also not seeming to know where it wants to go. Like I have no idea what the identity on the field and off the field that this team is trying to convey to anybody.
Agreed. Yeah. It's very bizarre. Another coach we hate is Brandon Staley.
Yeah, don't honestly, don't get me started right now.
You know, his beard looks fucking stupid too.
I don't want anything to happen to this broadcast, but like I might put hands on him.
No. Joke.
Jokingly, I have no access to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yes.
What if I did? Oh, I'm joking.
You might put hands on him to give him a hug.
Yeah, I would hug him hard.
Yeah, I mean,
extremely hard and
his
snug.
Loser mentality has now infected Justin Herbert, and I know he has a finger issue, and I know everyone wants to crap on Justin Herbert.
I hate him so much. Not Herbert. I hate Brandon Staley.
But the thing is that Justin Herbert is a young quarterback and has not known much in his NFL career. And this defensive, scared shitless mentality is ruining this team. It's ruining it.
And this defensive head coach's defense is bad. They
so
suck.
bad.
And he is a defensive-minded head coach. The defense sucks.
So bad. And how wide open were these, I'm sorry, not world-beating receivers on the Kansas City Chiefs? They play them twice a year. You know Andy Reid's scheme.
Why are you preparing for that?
Why are they not playing man?
How is a team that has Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, and Derwin James actively bad on defense?
So
why
bad.
do they in particular? Why do Joey Bosa and Derwin James not look good?
Patrick Mahomes has had some slow games this year. Now, he's the greatest player in the NFL. No question there. But this is the time. Like division rivals are the ones that are supposed to come in and give you grief. Give you hell a little bit. They know you. They know your tendencies. They know what you want to do. Doesn't matter. Patrick Mahomes threw for 400 yards against this defense. And, why did they trade away J.C. Jackson, who's made some plays over there in New England?
But he kind of sucked on the Chargers. That's what I also don't understand. He was good on the Patriots and sucked in L.A.
Everyone sucks on the Chargers, and it must just be that there's some gas leak in the building, right?
Dean Spanos probably didn't replace the carbon monoxide detector.
Yeah, must be. That's the one explanation. Or the explanation is that Brandon Staley is horrible at his job, and we've been saying this since last year. Those stupid cheap Spanos family members didn't fire this guy when they had the chance. I'm not saying Sean Payton looks amazing in Denver, but I think that's more Russ and the team not being that talented than anything. Sean Payton and Justin Herbert, that would have been awesome, but they were too cheap. They were too cheap to give the guy what he wanted. And you know what? You're paying for it. And Justin Herbert's going to be screwed for this. And the fact that he's getting this reputation is really sad to me, because he's a very talented player. He just doesn't have the institutional support to do what he needs to do. And it can't always be the players, guys. It can't always be. There's a sickness in the Chargers that has been there for a while. There's a reason that Eli Manning refused to go there, because he had a father that played in the league and understood how dysfunctional that team was. Fix it. Get a really established coach to come in there and do what he needs to do to fix this team, because it's sad to see Justin Herbert play like this.
And also, I'm not letting you off the hook either, Tom Telesco. I know you watch the show.
Oh, yeah.
Derek R in the YouTube chat said, flame Tom Telesco. Happily, this guy is a terrible GM and should have been fired two or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I wanted to be optimistic I wanted to be optimistic when the draft happened, because I did not want to sit there in April and think, we did it again. Passed over any sort of...
I like how you say we, because you're such a secret Chargers fan, but...
I'm disgusted. I'm absolutely disgusted. Every goddamn year I do this to myself. I say that they're going to be good. I say that this is their year. I say that they're actually going to put it together, and they never put it together. I'm sitting there in April, and they draft Quinton Johnson when they could have drafted Zay Flowers. They could have drafted Jordan Addison. They could have even drafted Tank Dell, and they refused to do it.
I told you. I said take Zay Flowers. He's a change of pace receiver. We don't need another tall guy. They don't need another tall guy.
And they have another tall guy who is also losing reps to Josh Palmer. He's not even playing.
Josh Palmer is not it.
And so I'm just sitting here feeling like my brain is oozing out of my skull, because I don't understand how the guy with the talent of Justin Herbert is on this impotent of an offense with a defensive-minded head coach who can't even coach a defense.
And I'm sorry, have they even prioritized ever getting a tight end that is a game changer? Gerald Everett has done good work there.
He's also 45, I think.
He's 29. I just looked it up. I thought he must have been older. But
I feel like I've been watching him play since 2007.
I mean, it's because he was on the Rams, then the Seahawks, then the Chargers. But there's a reason that he's been on 3 different teams. He is not a superstar. I mean, God. Who are they going to get next? Hayden Hurst?
And they also have Donald Parham, who is with all due respect to Donald Parham, he's built like a power forward. He's 6'9", 270 pounds.
Donald Parham has got to be 1,000,000 years old. No, he's not.
He's I think even a little younger, but he's literally 6'8" and can barely run.
Yeah, I know.
There's no juice. There's zero juice. And also, it's also even worse that Herbert's issue is that he is so routine oriented and so because of who he is personally, by all accounts that I've read and listened to podcasts about, obviously this is not, I don't know him personally, he also watches the show. Herbert is very risk averse. He does not want to make mistakes. He will dutifully do whatever is put in front of him. That's why
he's a humble, quiet man.
That's why he was throwing absolute darts of checkdowns every freaking snap last year, because that's all Joe Lombardi allowed him to do. It's still sort of happening. It's a little bit better with Kellen Moore here, but he's still not being given keys to the car.
Yes.
There is nothing.
Someone needs to empower him and get him to say, it's okay. This is what defensive head coaches do, or really bad ones. Not someone like DeMeco Ryans, who's not acting this way with his young quarterback, thank God. But what, sun's in your face or something? Oh yeah.
This is because I was talking about the Chargers. I'm ascending to another plane.
Yes, understood. You can fix
it. I'm feeling the heat. I'll fix it in a second. But just as to that point, like, he hasn't been empowered in the way, because he's also never actually been in a situation where he's had evidence that works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because even with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, his two best targets, those guys aren't taking passes for yards after the catch.
Yeah,
they
and
are
Mike Williams isn't even here anymore.
They are statuesque ball winners. High catch point, stop, sit down. Like that.
And Keenan Allen's more of that, but he's barely, like, he's not enough, and he's in his 30s at this point.
Right, he is in the other side of 30. Mike Williams is close behind. He has never had a guy who is even like. He's never even had a guy who's like McCole Hardman level explosive.
Mm-hmm.
Let alone Tyreek Hill.
That's why I said, fucking take Zay Flowers. That's what you said too. All right, go fix that.
I have to leave the light.
I know. Well, honestly, God is shining upon you, because he's realizing that you're getting close to the truth here, and that is just, and that is mighty, and that is good. I will read some IMs while Bradley tries to fix it. We're gonna have this issue because the sun is setting earlier, I can't believe how late in the year it's getting. We're not gonna have warm weather for so long. Antonin Scalia's Ghost. Brandon Staley and Arthur Smith are football terrorists, but for different reasons. Oh my God. Yes, we'll touch on that in a second. Wu-Tang Forever. I too want to throw my hammer at the TV every time I watch the Chargers, the most perennially underperforming team. If they lose to the Chump Bears, Staley should take the bus home. Yes. Now from Trinidad, damn, LA Sparks, Chargers got my main man Bradley upset and Emma turning red. What's the world coming to? Loving haircut, Emma. Thank you, Niall. Fierce Deity, curling slaps. I have to refresh myself on the rules every 4 years when the Olympics come, but I love it. I have no knowledge of the events of the weekend, though. You and me both. Croak Gunk Blues, screaming, crying, throwing up about the Finns' loss. I know. No, it's just don't worry about it. You're gonna have to have sun on your face. It's just that curtain that Sam hung up there is just not very thick.
I'm astonished. I've covered the window pretty comprehensively, and it's.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just not gonna happen for you. Let's take a call here. Let's take another one. Calling from a 630 area code. Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Pat from Miami.
Pat from Miami. How you doing?
Good. Two things. First, the show is awesome. It's really great. It's fun to listen to every week. You guys do great analysis.
Thank you.
The Arian Foster interview was super cool. And yeah, I like it a lot. You guys are doing great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I just want to re-up my prediction from last year for superstitious reasons that if J.J. McCarthy stays healthy, Michigan is going to beat Ohio State again this year. And hopefully they will pull that off again.
Yeah, well, I used to kind of root for Ohio State growing up just because I had no connection to my godparents were Ohio State fans, and like I once tried on an Ohio State championship ring through that because one of did
Terrell Pryor sell it to you?
No, so my godmother's brother played on the national championship team there, and anyway, so I sort of root for them, but given just some of the grossness about the organization, it's hard for me to do so at this point. But I don't like Jim Harbaugh. I kind of can't stand him. However, would it be poetic if he were to win the national championship and then go to coach the Chargers?
Mm-hmm. This is some West Wing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Would that make you sad to lose him?
Well, I think it's probably going to be his last year anyway. I don't know if you saw like the Pete Thamel article. There's like more stuff came out with this whole like sign stealing thing, which I mean, I can put my Homer hat on for a minute, but I'll spare you. So I'm guessing after like the cheeseburger thing and the self-imposed suspension, I kind of wonder if he was going to stick around anyway. Like the roster's stacked this year. They're going to have a new quarterback next year. They're going to be doing a lot of rebuilding.
Right.
So, I mean, it'd be great if they could get a national championship on the way out. That'd be awesome. It'd make it a lot easier. But, yeah, this is probably going to be his last year.
But I'm with you on the Ohio State prediction only because I'm not, like, especially after Saturday's game, I'm not particularly, like, blown away by this Ohio State team. So
Also,
far.
like,
outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. obviously being like who he is, I think he could have honestly left for the draft last year and nobody would have batted an eyelash. But like, I'm not super blown away by McCord or anybody really else. I mean, Ibuka's also pretty good, but like I thought that the Penn State game was going to be much less competitive than it was, and they only really won by a touchdown or two.
Also, Ryan Day is like not a. I think he might be a poser.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
and he looks like Matt
legit
Walsh.
thought they were gonna. Yeah,
which
does,
I don't
actually.
like.
Yeah.
I do not like looking at him for that very reason. I would prefer to stop.
Yeah, they both
stop or
they
shave
both
his beard.
use, just for men. Yeah, yeah. I legit thought they were gonna have like a 3 or 4 loss season this year with Notre Dame and Penn State, and I thought Wisconsin was gonna be a little better this year, and then Michigan, but. I mean, I got to give them some credit. Like their defense is a lot better. They've overperformed compared to last year. They've had limited big plays, and like you said, Marvin Harrison Jr. is just like an automatic safety valve and gets them out of all kinds of trouble. But I mean, they did luck out against Notre Dame, like having 10 guys on the field in that last play, and then they still barely got a first down, or they barely got the touchdown on like the 1 yard line. And then Day has that like meltdown about Lou Holtz, and like which I'm watching, and I'm like,
that was
it's like, yeah, we're
else.
totally in your head, bro. Yeah. It's like Jim Harbaugh is in your head now. Like he made that one little third base comment, and then like the next year they go into your house, they ran all over you, and like, and I on this level I feel bad for the guy because like he's like 45-5 or something, and like yet huge parts of that fan base definitely are going to want him fired if he loses again this year.
That's the tough thing about college is like you can have an absolutely like almost like astonishing win-loss record, but if you lose the rivalry games, it's basically all you're remembered for.
Exactly. Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I mean, sorry, I forget. I totally had a blanked on what I wanted to say. Who does Michigan play next?
They got a bye this week, and then it's Purdue
and then
at
Penn State. That's not next week. Yeah,
yep.
I'm excited about that Penn State game. That'll be interesting. And then Ohio State, they play Thanksgiving weekend.
That'll be good.
Yeah, that'll be good. And it'll be curious to see if Florida State is for real as well. I mean, they've looked all right, and they're probably going to make a run. I think at somebody like. I doubt he'll do it now, but Deion Sanders, because once they get that recruiting back up, I feel like some of those Florida teams are gonna, because that's where Deion Sanders played, right? He played at Florida State, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I could see them making a run at him. Anyway, that's my little conspiracy theory.
Before we let you go, Pat, I'm curious, because I'm two things, but with the Ohio State and Michigan aspect, I'm thinking that Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably the best wide receiver prospect since. Justin Jefferson,
Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase came after, so since Jamar Chase,
right? And then also, I think that Drake May, Caleb Williams, QB1, QB2 in the draft is pretty well established so far already.
Although that Washington quarterback's pretty damn good too.
Penix is also great. Yeah, and but I am curious what you think about McCarthy's NFL prospects. If you think he has any as either starter or backup.
Well, I'm not 100% sure, but I'll tell you, he's made massive improvements in his development. I think he could be successful at the next level. I will say, I think he's easily, and Harbaugh actually has said this, of like he's on his way to being the best quarterback in Michigan history. And like I've watched them for like over 20 years. He's easily the best quarterback they've had in the last 20 years. And like apparently they're letting him do more stuff pre-snap at the line of scrimmage now, of like doing a bunch of checks and changing his protection. So like that's going to help him a lot at the next level. Yeah. And that's an offense where like you're only going to get 25 to 30 attempts a game max because they're so run heavy.
Yeah,
but
Corum and those guys, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But he's I mean, I don't know how many of the games you've watched, but like him outside of the pocket has actually been like borderline more dangerous, and he's gotten a lot better. Like it used to be his first instinct was just like, okay, I can't see my read, I got to run. Now it's like he will move around, he will create space, and he's always looking down the field. He's not going run first. Like he will find a guy open, he'll direct the guy. Yeah, so like I think he could. Out of any like Michigan quarterback again that I've seen like the last 20 years, by far he's got the best chance.
And
sure.
he also could come back for his senior year, right? And beef up as well.
He could. Yeah. That'd be amazing. But like I'm just figure like these guys with some.
It is kind of a stacked class if everyone sort of declares in the sense of like, you know, also Riley Leonard at Duke and Penix and KJ Jefferson at Arkansas and like a lot of guys could go if they want.
I mean, he is still a little bit like from a body perspective. McCarthy is. I'm not pretending to be an expert, but he seems on the thinner side to me. Maybe he could beef up a little bit more, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I want to say he's like 6'2", 205, something like that. So like he could probably put on another like 10, 15.
Yeah, the height's good. Wikipedia at least has him 6'3", 202, and I think if you so.
All right.
At least being above, with our Bryce Young discourse, at least he's above 200.
Exactly.
Guy had to catch a stray somehow in this episode.
All right, appreciate it, Pat. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right.
Have a good one. Bye. El Conipcion, you guys missed the greatest volleyball match of the century on Saturday night. Both undefeated. Number 2, Nebraska played from behind much of the match to defeat number 1, Wisconsin in 5 sets. Huskers won without even playing at their best. Go Big Red.
Was this not the team that had like literally the I think if I'm not mistaken, this was the team that had set the world record or something, or set a record for highest attendance at a women's sporting event?
I have no idea.
The Nebraska volleyball team. So
you look that up. Please. Sorry, I meant to be nice about it.
Yeah. They in August they set the world record for women's sports attendance. At how many people was this? 92,003 fans.
Wow.
Watched the 5-time NCAA champion Nebraska volleyball team beat Omaha 3-0.
Some other just quick points on the games that over the weekend. I mean, I got to touch on the fact that my Giants did end up winning and beating the Commanders. 14-7's misleading. It should have been more than that, but the Giants offense, seemingly without no matter who plays at quarterback, is just fairly anemic. The Giants were able to get some big plays with Jalen Hyatt and some opportunistic throws by Tyrod Taylor to guys like Darren Waller, who actually finally had a breakout game, and Darius Slayton had some nice balls as well. But the reality of the situation is that, honestly, the game almost was a shutout if Sterling Shepard did not fumble the punt return when they went 3 and out. He fumbled it right in Giants territory, and they were able to get a touchdown. But Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, they played out of their mind. Like, the Giants defensive line, at least on the interior, is really starting to come together. And my guy, Deonte Banks, our first-round pick, the happiest I've been about a Giants first-round pick in I really can't say how long.
And I loved Banks coming out of the draft and from Maryland.
He's a dog, and he's also just like a traditional press man corner. He can play man to man,
but he's fast and he's long arms.
Oh yeah, and he's just strong.
Like, right, he just has a really ideal. Like, I always loved how he's built. Like, I just think he's, and you said he's sticky too. Like, he's like as you said, press man. Like, he's truly wants to be like up in a guy's shirt.
Yeah,
too, which I like.
He had an interception. He played well. Happy to see that Giants defense comes together. The offensive line is still insanely bad, but oddly, they were able to kind of manage the game in a certain way when both Andrew Thomas and poor Evan Neal, who seems to just have not improved at all in his second year, both of them were out of the game. The Giants, they're not a good team, but I'm happy at least that they were able to stop this losing skid. And let's be real, the Giants have had an insane start to their schedule. The Cowboys on a rainy night that just completely got away from them, and Daniel Jones is not a good rain thrower.
Dolphins 49ers.
Dolphins 49ers. The Seahawks was the game that I was at that, and then they won that game against the Cardinals. So the Giants just aren't ready to run with those guys. But can I see them finishing 6-11, 10 potentially. Yeah, I could see that. I think there's they play the Jets next week, and then after that their schedule starts to soften up. I could see them getting 5 more wins or something like that.
We talk about this every now and again. And I like, as you know, even because I do like, I've always liked Leonard Williams because obviously starting his career as a Jet but then going to the Giants. But I think his ceiling is a little defined relative to who I'm really was like super impressed by, who I just like honestly I love watching is like I think Dexter Lawrence has a very real claim to be like the best nose tackle or best like into one and at least nose tackle, but also one of, if not maybe the like top 3, top 4 interior defensive linemen.
So
in the
after
league.
Donald and Chris Jones, you're thinking that I think there's a drop off.
Yeah,
and then maybe he's number 3. That's fair.
I think if I was to say 5, not in any particular order, just 5 guys, I think it would be Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons, Quinnen Williams.
That's fair. I might switch Simmons and Lawrence, but maybe you're wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe I'm just, negative about the Giants right now.
It's just amazing to me how much movement he gets on other guys and how fast he is at like 340, 345.
Oh my God.
He's just such an explosive athlete for his size. And
he's fun to watch, which helps. And
he's so fun to watch.
He's so smiley.
Yeah, he's so fun to watch. He's charismatic. He's a great energy about him, and he's just like, and when he's activated, he's just like he's. There are very few centers who can stop him consistently.
Yes, he is like the MVP of that Giants defense for sure.
So seeing him playing well and like getting after Sam Howell that much was nice to watch.
Yeah, the Commanders need to improve their offensive line, and I don't know. I mean, Sam Howell has shown flashes. I still think the jury's out on him.
For sure.
He has a tendency to get over aggressive. That's the biggest issue with him.
And it's a gift and a curse because at one point you're almost like, you appreciate the demeanor, you appreciate the initiative to want to make big plays. But if you do that all the time and it's not always successful, or it's actually sometimes more often than not unsuccessful, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
The gunslinger mentality also helps when you're like when your gambles pay off.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, it's the Giants though continue to have the number of the Commanders. They really can't seem to
Jonathan Allen was absolutely just sick after the game.
Yeah. We didn't mention Steelers Rams. The Steelers, this is the kind of game that they win. This is just the kind of game that they win. They were 3.5-point dogs. I had in the back of my mind that they would win, and I should have bet them. But it's just Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp is not enough to carry an entire offense. The offensive line for the Rams continues to be one of the worst in the league, and they showed that. The other thing we should mention is the Bijan Robinson saga. This is an issue. Like, people are betting money on things like Bijan Robinson over-unders, and the NFL, to avoid litigation, needs to begin to update its disclosure requirements, because the shit that Arthur Smith pulled in this game is just not going to fly. He was active. He was supposed to be playing, but it was because he had a headache or something, is the report, why he had 0 carries before before halftime. Bijan Robinson, not sure what the heck is going on there, but I think that I know it's gambling, and that's so people just shouldn't throw their money away like that if they don't want to accept those risks. I understand that. But if the NFL wants to avoid some sort of issue with like a class action lawsuit about gambling losses, they've got to update their requirements so that Arthur Smith can't just be like, oh, competitive advantage. Like, I'm going to sit him on the sideline and not tell anybody about it or whatever. Actually, that doesn't make any sense. Why would it be a competitive advantage? You just have to be more open
I guess it
and
changes
forthright.
the game plan, I guess, potentially.
Yes.
If you're planning for Bijan and he's not there.
Right. I think that's part of what it is. Yeah.
But also, it's so patchwork as it's state by state that like you could run afoul of these things in many different jurisdictions to the point where you're fighting like 20 lawsuits.
I agree, but
Big
the
Cat from
NFL
Barstool had to go to the Massachusetts Gaming Commission because he had a segment called like "Can't Miss, Can't Lose Bets,"
Can't lose
and they had to
parlay,
prove that he was like, I say that because I'm a shit gambler.
Yeah.
And
right.
they were like, this like actual regulatory body was like, that doesn't matter to us. You cannot tell people they can't lose because it misrepresents like.
To be fair to him, I mean, I feel like it's clearly tongue in cheek for anybody paying
Oh,
attention.
totally. Like in terms of, if you're watching a Barstool gambling stream, like, you're probably not like, wow, Big Cat is telling me I can literally never lose.
Yeah,
But
right, exactly.
the legalese is enough for it to be a problem. But no, I see what you're saying. And also just quickly, I wanted to say on Steelers Rams, like, this is why we can't necessarily count out the Mike Tomlin Steelers, because like another team that maybe has been struggling a little bit or kind of winning ugly like the Steelers have could certainly lose this game for sure. But the Steelers just don't play like that. Like basically the Steelers formula right now, which I think is like just very classic, like latter period Tomlin Steelers, is like 2 good to great catches from George Pickens, a few runs from Najee Harris, and then like the defense just doing the rest. Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt and those guys just wrecking the game for a kind of inexperienced, slightly injured offensive line for the Rams. But one guy I just want to highlight on the Rams offensive line who I really love and would encourage people to keep an eye on is their rookie guard Steve Avila, who came out of the second round from TCU. He is awesome. He's really, really good. But they're playing a backup left tackle. Like I think Kevin Dotson, I think, is their backup left tackle. And a few of these guys are just not particularly heralded offensive linemen. So it's a heavy load to go against the Steelers defense, which is still really, really
really good. And they're so fundamentally sound and well coached on that front. Yeah, that's one of the stories of the day. I mean, the Broncos were able to pull it off against the Packers, who maybe I was wrong about them. I thought they would be better this year, but that's not the case. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's it. I mean, Seahawks won. That's not really notable. Jackson Smith and Njigba did finally get going.
Yes, was excited to see him finally get into the end zone. I wonder, it did coincide a little bit with DK Metcalf's absence, but hopefully that isn't a sign of like.
Yeah.
I hope that isn't a sign of like, oh,
I'm sorry, but hopefully, like, Tyler Lockett gets fewer snaps. Like, I appreciate Tyler Lockett's contributions and consistency, but it's time for a little bit more explosive.
But maybe like switch the order, right? Yeah. Maybe it's DK JSN then Lockett as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, and to be fair to Carroll and them, I mean, JSN missed almost all of training camp because of his wrist. Right. It makes sense for them to slowly indoctrinate him into the offense.
And my guy, Jake Bobo, getting some run.
Oh, yeah. You love those fun names.
You go, Jake Bobo.
You go. You go. All right, guys. We'll take one more call, and then we're going to wrap up. Really quick, calling from an 818. I think I know who this is. 818.
Well. ESVN, how you guys doing?
Hey, Dave from Jamaica. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to hit on that point you were talking about coaching, and I always thought this, but even though my thing is from the combat sports side of things, but I think this applies for all sports in general. The old school method, and people might get mad at me, I don't believe it worked. I think good players were good despite the coaching. Not to like quote Inception or anything, but positive emotion trumps negative, right? So I'm thinking of a boxer like Michael Bennett. He was very talented, but he was purely trained in a fear-based scenario. While with at least positive reinforcement, you might fear, losing or whatnot, but it's coming from a different place, if you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like, I remember my days in Taekwondo, and they gave us... Go ahead.
No. I just confused. So you're saying that, like, say someone's a great athlete, if they're coached worse, that trumps the athleticism. Badly, it trumps the athleticism.
I'll put it like this: like when you're hazing and dogging, you're using a kind of a fear-based type of motivation to avoid that. That's not really good. It's really a fear-based thing. When it's a positive, you are kind of more like avoiding getting eaten by the tiger. You want to ride the tiger, so to speak, if you get what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. Right. And I think that translates in football, like translates with defensive head coaches in that way, where unless they're a very aggressive mindset on their side of the ball, like they're thinking of it always from a defensive perspective. Like, if a defensive head coach, what their goal is to try to get an interception or a sack or a fumble. So when they coach their offense, they're like, don't take a sack, don't throw an interception, don't get a fumble, right? Or don't fumble the ball. So for a quarterback in that way, that's what you're saying. It's imbuing this fear-based mentality into that. And that's just not the way to win the NFL, which is now based on big explosive plays, which you need to be fearless to do.
The only time I think only time where negative reinforcement works is if you have a player that's an asshole. And then even if he's an asshole, you're not supposed to dunk on him in public. Maybe I'm quoting Lenin here, but everything in the party. So
yeah, right. Well, that's a funny placement for that quote, but it is applicable. Appreciate the call, Dave. Thanks so much.
No problem. Catch you guys later.
Later.
Keep up
Bye.
the good work.
Thanks. Bye. All right, guys. Hanging up, reading some IMs, getting out of here. J-Man Jays. Hey, guys. Great baseball playoff so far. Laughing my ass off Texas Rangers. Anyway, the vibes are back with my Raps. Raps finishing ahead of the Knicks this year. Cope, Emma, and Bradley. There's no cope that's provided for us. We understand that the Knicks are probably going to have a more down year. I hope the Dallas Mavericks have a down year as well, since we hold their first round pick, but not so down that it's unprotected this year, I think. God, I hope the Dallas Mavericks completely suck this year.
I don't know what to expect from the Raptors, because I feel like a few guys.
I mean, the Knicks, I don't expect much. I think that they're going to regress, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a whole lot on the in the offseason besides DiVincenzo for the Knicks, and then the Raptors similar that they got Pirtle back, which is nice, but I just think like I'm still waiting for a bigger leap from OG Anunoby and Scotty Barnes. I think Siakam is a really amazing player, but I'm curious what this post Nick Nurse Raptors team looks like with their new coach.
That makes sense. Yeah, NBA tips off tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about that on Thursday.
Yeah, I can't believe it. That's so crazy. It's back already.
I know. Tater Tot. Bryce Young catching strays while he's on bye week. Yeah, I know. That's this show's MO. Stronger than Sam's hairline says, I keep seeing fellow Packers fans prematurely losing all faith and love after Sunday's loss against the Broncos. Yes, he's made a lot of mistakes, but I can't ignore that we have such a young team all around and how great he looked in the first few games of the season. I'm more inclined to blame coaching for a lot of the mistakes, but what do you guys think? Definitely don't lose faith. Aaron Rodgers did not have a good first season. This is a very young team, as you say. And let's not forget that the wide receiving core for the Packers is not that great, and Christian Watson has barely been able to stay on the field.
It's not that great, and also to your point, it's not that great, and it's extremely green. Like the vet receivers on this team are Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, and they're in their second season. I mean, we're talking about two rookie tight ends in Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft, as well as two other rookie wide receivers in Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks getting a lot of run as well. Like, there's really, I mean, even in the offensive line, it's not as if David Bakhtiari's playing consistently.
Well, he's not playing. I mean, he's on IR.
Right. And so even the veteran presence there is like,
Bakhtiari may never be the same. I mean, he's really struggled to come back from his knee, or I think it was his knee.
And it's a little mysterious, in the sense, not saying that there's anything nefarious going on, but just more that initially I think people thought that he only wasn't going to play games on turf, but now he's consistently, obviously, as you're saying, he's on IR. He's actually not playing any games for the foreseeable future. Yeah. So I definitely don't think this is should be any real indictment on Love, who really looked very promising in his first 4 games.
Yeah, and I mean, he has arm talent, and he's throwing with pace on the ball. There's going to be growing pains in this situation. And Sean Payton is the kind of coach that's very smart and seasoned. So he's going to be able to mess with a young quarterback in that way, an inexperienced quarterback in that way. Antifa Lockhart, disappointed to hear my favorite East Coast loving analysts can't keep their brains in their heads when it comes to DeBears. That strat of all screens and dump offs is what Fields did week 1 and 2 and didn't have the benefit of getting to do it against the Oakland Raiders. These clowns can't move to Arlington Heights fast enough, so the old white dudes choking on their Italian beef can't stop explaining how Bijan's stat line, which wasn't as good as what Fields does in a half, is actually the future of the Bears. This isn't Brock Purdy, it's Henry Burris. It's not even Kyle Orton. Kyle Orton would have won, by the way, but that's a different topic. Yes, my assessment is neither Justin Fields nor Tyson Bagent is the future of the Bears. The future of the Bears is Caleb Williams or Drake May or something of that nature. The Bears are one of the worst teams in the NFL, as were the Carolina Panthers. They hold both of their first-round picks. That's the future. They are not playing to win this year. Although maybe Eberflus is, but hopefully he's gone after this year. Matt, I guess, says Haslam has to be on the short list for the all-time worst NFL owner. Every major whiff at quarterback and coach is a direct result of his own lack of knowledge and impulsiveness. Who can forget the totally real homeless guy telling him to draft Manziel? Shame that if the Browns ever win a Super Bowl, the first guy that they're going to hand the trophy to is this dingus. Well, all the context you gave precludes that fact. This is my favorite piece of sports trivia. Well, let's do it really quickly. Can you name, I think we've done this before, the 4 NFL teams that have never been to a Super Bowl? I mean, one of them was just the subject of this conversation, so.
So the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
Texans.
Mm-hmm. One more team in the north of the country. They are good this year, but it's not often that they are good.
Not the Vikings, right?
No, the Vikings have been to a Super Bowl and lost. But you are in the right area. You're in the right area. Detroit. The Detroit Lions.
Oh, the Lions.
The Lions have
okay.
never been. Yeah. That's
I was thinking, I was like, the Bears definitely have, and so have the Packers, obviously.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
okay, Lions, interesting.
Yeah. And the Vikings have been, but they so that's one of my favorite pieces of sports trivia. Also, what is the only division that every single team in the division has won the Super Bowl?
Is it the no? I was gonna say AFC East, but I guess the Dolphins haven't won, right?
No, they're only an undefeated team. The Dolphins.
Oh no, sorry, I was thinking Marino specifically didn't win, but the Don Shula Dolphins won. Is it the AFC East?
No.
Oh.
The Bills have not won a Super Bowl.
Bills
They've
have
been
won
to
the
4
Super Bowl.
straight.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This is just too fun for me.
NFC East?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so because I was say
Eagles,
Washington Giants, Eagles, Cowboys.
The Eagles did it. Finally became the first division to do so.
Wow.
When they beat the Patriots.
Yeah, I guess the 2 East pretty. One is pretty close, and then it's the NFC East.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
I mean, and then think of the NFC North. There's only 2, the Packers and the Bears that have won the Super Bowl. AFC South.
Nobody.
Actually, I'm just gonna do this for fun right now in my head because I'm a sicko.
NFC North is just Ravens.
Well, wait, no. AFC North is Ravens,
and Steelers.
Not the Bengals and not the Browns.
Yep.
Now NFC South, Bucks, yes.
Yep.
Falcons, no. Panthers, no. God damn it! What's the 4th NFC South team? What's wrong with me?
It's
Bucks. Jesus Christ!
Wait, sorry. It's Bucks, Falcons,
Panthers,
Saints.
Saints,
right?
yes.
Saints
okay,
won.
Jesus
Saints
Christ.
won. Yeah.
All right, I don't know why I'm doing this. NFC West, Niners, yes. Cardinals, no. Seahawks, yes. Rams, yes. So they're close.
They're close too. Yeah,
the Cardinals just have to win. So
yeah, so we'll be waiting
for
on
a
that
while.
for a bit. Josh Dobbs, Super Bowl champion, coming up.
Mm-hmm. All right, how many divisions have we run through? Where we did the NFC North, we did the NFC East, NFC South, NFC West, AFC North, AFC East. Everybody except the
Bills.
The Bills.
AFC South,
none. AFC West. Chiefs, yes.
Broncos.
Chargers, no. Broncos, yes.
Raiders,
yes.
Yeah. So there's a few 3 out of 4s.
There you go.
But the Raiders and the Cardinals, I think we won't hold our breath.
Right. Oh, AFC is Colts. Damn it.
Sorry, Colts. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, that was stupid.
But Colts, yes. Colts have won. Yep.
Colts have won, yeah. I
apologize.
Despite everything, Peyton Manning did manage to drag that team to win a Super Bowl.
At least one.
Oh, my God. Okay, I forgot the Colts. Sorry about that, guys. I just put us on the spot for no reason. Majority Report wardrobe coordinator, thanks for taking my call. This is Pat from Miami. You guys are the best. Oh, there we go. Now we know.
Pat.
Unmasked. And the final I am of the day. Kowalski. In unrelated sports news, my 9-year-old niece, who is in 3rd grade, is forced to play with the 4th grader volleyball team won the Grand Island Youth Tournament. I'm biased, obviously, but at just under 5 feet tall, she might have been. She might have a Nebraska Husker volleyball career in her future. Well, that's very exciting. Very, very exciting. All right, guys. Appreciate you all. We will see you on Thursday for our locks, where hopefully the Niners cover tonight by a touchdown. Bye-bye.
Bye.